Most people today know about the fictional character Slenderman, a faceless, long-limbed man who kidnaps children and owns a dark mansion in a forest. This creepypasta has made its rounds around the internet, and many young people love to talk about it and scare others with it. However, this case covers the story of two girls who took this belief in Slenderman so much further than most do, and actually tried to sacrifice their friend for him. This is the case of Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser.
If you killed Payton, I would just stab one of your best friends.
I thought about it, but then I decided that remorse will get me nowhere.
I just want to let Bella and her family know I'm sorry. I never meant this to happen.
The victim in this case, 12-year-old Payton Leutner, who lived in Waukesha in Wisconsin, was a happy and friendly kid and had a heart for making friends with people who struggled to fit in. A real salt-of-the-earth person. This led her to befriend Morgan Geyser, a quiet and lonely sort of person who was struggling to make friends in the 4th grade at school. Payton described her as funny and creative, which made her fun to be around at the time. 2 years later, Morgan met another girl called Anissa Weier and made friends with her, growing their friendship group to 3 people. Around this time, Anissa and Morgan began to talk to Payton about Slenderman, the tall, faceless man who preyed on children. Payton recalls that she didn't like hearing about this man, and I honestly don't blame her, and even considered leaving her friendship with Morgan, but decided to stay as she was worried Morgan would end up lonely. Payton also claims she didn't get along with Anissa very well, as she tended to be mean to her and didn't treat her fairly. This is where the phrase, "three's a crowd," comes into play, as Morgan and Anissa got closer whilst Payton was pushed to the sidelines a bit. On the 30th of May 2014, Morgan celebrated her 12th birthday and invited Anissa and Payton for a sleepover at her house. It seemed fairly usual. They went skating, had some frozen yogurt, and then went back to Morgan's home for the slumber party.
They played up in Morgan's bedroom, ran up and down the stairs, giggling and laughing, and it was just a normal night.
Payton recalls that the evening seemed pretty normal, but that looking back, she could notice certain little things that were off, such as Morgan wanting to go to sleep early, when she never usually wanted to at a sleepover because she wasn't allowed to stay up late on regular nights. The girls woke up the next morning and Payton found Anissa and Morgan on the computer. They then had donuts for breakfast and decided to go to the park together. Something that seemed so innocent was actually going to be the exact opposite and would almost cost one of them their lives. What Payton didn't know was that Anissa and Morgan were planning to attack her at this park and had secretly packed a knife, some snacks, and pictures of their families with them. Once they got to David's Park near Waukesha, the 2 girls tried to carry out the attack in the bathrooms for practical reasons, as they say the blood could wash down the drains there. Absolutely vile, I know. Apparently neither of them could bring themselves to do it.
She handed me the knife and told me to stab her, and I said, I can't do it, I'm too squeamish.
And they instead decided to play hide and seek with Payton. They then told the unsuspecting Payton to lie down, and they covered her with sticks and leaves to supposedly hide her. Once Anissa shouted, "Now," Morgan began to repeatedly stab Payton, the girl who befriended her just a couple of years ago. After stabbing her 19 times, the girls told Payton they would go and find help and ran off. This was not the case, and Payton was left fighting for her life.
I shouldn't be alive. I really shouldn't after what happened.
Somehow, though, she managed to crawl out of the wooded area to a nearby road, and thankfully a cyclist passing by found her and called 911.
I quick got out my cell phone. I was shaking and dialed 911, and I just stayed with the 911.
She was right here in the grass.
Exactly.
But you had no idea how many times she'd actually been
No.
stabbed.
Okay, sir, are you with her right now?
Yes.
Is she awake?
She's awake.
Is there any bleeding going on?
Her clothing has got blood on it.
I offered her water because I had a water bottle on my bike. The other thing she said was she's having trouble breathing.
She was transported to hospital and rushed into surgery. Payton had suffered stab wounds to her arms, legs and torso, with some hitting major organs and one just narrowly missed an artery, leading to her heart by less than a millimetre.
First people to see her is the ER doctor, and he told me that her blood pressure was dangerously low. Her heart was working in overdrive. I mean, this is a 12-year-old girl really struggling to survive.
And the knife stopped at the wall of the artery.
Had it not,
she would have had a major heart attack from the amount of bleeding and probably died within a minute or two.
Whilst her injuries were horrific, she was expected to miraculously survive. During this time, police began to look for the perpetrators, Morgan and Anissa, who were now on the run. They were seen on a CCTV camera in a shop, and the girls were found walking along a highway, about 4 miles away from the scene of the crime. They claimed they were going to live with Slenderman, but were arrested and brought to separate interrogation rooms. The girls were interrogated about what had happened and gave frighteningly calm recollections of what had happened and why they did what they did.
Morgan said, "We have to kill Bella."
And then they were going to walk to the Nicolay Forest to try to find Slenderman.
Morgan found out that Slender has this big mansion in the middle of the Nicolay National Park.
What needed to make this happen, that for them to live in this mansion, was to kill somebody, and that idea came from Morgan.
They believed that if they didn't kill Payton, their families would be killed by Slenderman, and so in order to avoid this and become proxies of the mythical creature, they had to stab their friend.
So did you guys talk about doing this beforehand?
Anissa told me we had to.
Why?
Because she said that he'd kill our families.
Who's he?
A man. I didn't know him, but Anissa knew him.
The pair were charged as adults with attempted first-degree and second-degree murder, but were found not guilty by reason of insanity, and were sentenced to 40 years in a mental hospital for Morgan and 25 years for Anissa. Morgan was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and Anissa made a public apology in court to Payton and her family.
I just want to let Bella and her family know I'm sorry. I never meant this to happen. I hope that she's doing well.
Payton stayed in hospital recovering for 6 days after her attack and has done remarkably well. She says she still sleeps with broken scissors by her bed and has a hard time trusting people, but that she thanks Morgan and Anissa for making her who she is today. I wish her all the best in life, and I hope that she can be surrounded by understanding people who appreciate and value her gentle spirit. In 2020, Morgan appealed to the courts to have another trial and instead to be tried as a juvenile, but this was rejected and she remains in Winnebago Mental Health Institute. Anissa, however, was released from the same institute in September of 2021 with conditions like being tracked via GPS 24/7 for the next 37 years, her internet usage is closely monitored, and she cannot leave Waukesha County without permission. Additionally, the creator of Slenderman, Eric Knudsen, sent his condolences to Payton and her family, as did the creators of the Creepypasta Wiki, the website Morgan and Anissa used. The community organised a 24-hour YouTube live stream to raise money for Payton also. I don't think it needs to be said, but it's clear that Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire were very ill when they acted out on their plans. I choose to believe that nobody sane could do this to somebody who trusted and valued them. Mental health is something that is still being slowly destigmatized, and I think when we are all able to be more educated on the subject, we can notice signs sooner before something like this happens. I'm going to link some articles on mental health down below, specifically on schizophrenia, if you're interested in reading more. For now though, I hope all those affected by this case are doing well and are able to continue healing from such a grisly event.